There was a gigantic collapse by your silver and black out in OKC.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey guys, this is Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. It's morphin' time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kings 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Oh, woo! If you thought that the Spurs hanging on to a 20-point lead was enough to seal a win versus the Thunder, well, you were completely wrong. Yes, the Spurs finished up a game last night versus the Thunder, and yeah, you heard me right. They had a 20-point lead. Maybe a 30-point lead would have done them better, and they blew it. Completely blew it. Yeah, it's bad. We're going to be taking a look at some general thoughts on the collapse out in OKC, get into some numbers, and then ask my guest a very, very important question that may hinge on his fandom for his silver and black. That's going to bring him in. He is Rudy Campos. He's with Sweep the League. Rudy, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We finally have a game where it doesn't start at 10 o'clock at night. You can come on for a quick recap.
Yeah, I was starting to wonder, like, man, is Jeff going to put me on the West Coast time only? Because I was like, I wanted to do a recap here pretty soon. But thank God this game was over early, and can we say the score was pretty much over as well at the end there?
There were Spurs fans that made an attempt to drag me because when the Spurs built that 20-point lead, some of them were saying it was our good friend Joe Garcia who says, "Hey Jeff, do you think they're going to win? They're going to snap their 8-game losing streak." And I said, like, it's not over yet, something to that effect, or give it time. And sure enough, the time went, and the Spurs lost 119-111. Spurs lose on the road to the Thunder. They are now 6-16 on the season, 3-8 away from the AT&T, and are now on a 9-game losing streak. Yeah, it was a complete disaster in that second half. But what did you see from this Spurs team, or maybe you don't want to say? Maybe we should get the bleep button ready. You know, the dump button, just in case you just start dropping F-bombs. Go ahead, Rudy. What did you see?
Yeah, it's been the whole thing for the Spurs this entire season. The first quarter and the fourth quarter have been those two quarters that they tend to seem to lose by. Tonight, the fourth quarter got them. The first quarter, they were up by 3 at the end, but then at the very end of the game, you saw the total collapse started happening in the third quarter. Fourth quarter, they got doubled up 15. They scored 15. Oklahoma City scored 31. You just saw a total collapse. But I don't know if it's the winded part, coming in. They don't have enough in the tank at the end of the game to close them out. Or is it the other type of tank that we're seeing on Twitter with Spurs Twitter?
Yeah, look, 9-game losing streak, goes well towards the tank. And, it almost like the tank bowl, pretty much, because aren't the OKC and the Spurs kind of like the two teams that many predict could win the draft, get to that number one spot. So, yay, Spurs, you won that battle. But it was just bad. And I get it. Spurs had a 20-point lead. Yes, you heard that right. And they blew it. But you could just tell, not necessarily from the game, but in the winning streak, they just been not firing all cylinders. They were not playing 4 quarters of basketball. A good example would be that last home game versus the Lakers, where they played maybe a half a quarter, and they just could not put together a full game. So that's my point when I saw this collapse coming. I was saying this team has not shown they can put together a full 48 minutes for quite some time, and they did it again. The offense sputtered in the second half. The shot was not falling down. The defense went away. I got to ask you right away before we get into the numbers in just a bit. Is this rock bottom for the Spurs, or we're not even there yet?
You're not even there yet. I mean, you're still talking, this is only game 22 of the season. You still got 60 more of these bad boys. You're not at rock bottom yet. Rock bottom's going to see when you look at these standings and you see the Spurs record at possibly like 8-35 or something like that. Then you're definitely at rock bottom. But to say the least, it's going to be this kind of season. We say it over and over again. It's going to be this kind of season for the San Antonio Spurs. There's going to be a lot more losing streaks, and you're going to have winning streaks. Definitely not rock bottom yet, but you're pretty close.
How do you think this is not rock bottom? I mean, the 9-game losing streak, they blew a 20-point lead versus the Thunder. Rudy, how much worse can it get? Are you predicting maybe double-figure losing streak? Because next they got the Pelicans.
Oh, yeah. I don't expect them to beat the Pelicans at all. I mean, Pelicans are the number 3 team in the West right now, standing at 13-8 record. I think they're playing right now as we speak. But the reason why I say it's not rock bottom is because you're only 1 game behind the Lakers in the win column. And you're talking about 3 top 75 players of all time on there. So, I mean, until the Lakers actually pull away from the Spurs, then for me, it's not rock bottom. I mean, it's more of a collapse on the Lakers side than anything else. But right now, it's still not rock bottom. I mean, it's still 22 games into the season. Still got a whole bunch of games left. But for me personally, they're not going to do any better than this.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it could get it to double figure losing streak because, again, the Spurs have the Pelicans up next. Pelicans are ready. Didn't they just destroy them recently? It was it was over before it began. Zion just had a monster game. I expect him to do the same. The Spurs need to understand that they need to play. Oh man, is it a stretch to say, Rudy, that this team has to play near perfect just to eke out a W?
It seems like we're not seeing that Spurs play that we saw in the beginning of the year with the ball movement and all. I mean, tonight they had 27 assists only. I mean, they were averaging over 31, the tops in the league. You're right. It's going to have to be perfect ball. They didn't shoot very bad tonight from the perimeter. Shot 44%. 3-point shot was 27% for the night, but it's got to be perfect ball. In order for them to win a game, they're going to have to play on all cylinders. They're going to be kicking on it. They've got to play on both sides of the ball, something that we haven't seen in this 9-game losing streak.
Oof. Wow. Another thought I had watching the game was just how much they need a franchise player because none of these kids show that they can shoulder and lead a team to get the W. You saw KJ clanking, Devin Vassell was clanking. The defense was a disaster. Turnovers, they were very costly. It goes to the point of team tank that maybe they'll get the team that is will get a number 2 pick for that cornerstone piece. It goes to the fact that even this team themselves, the players themselves, Popovich says this team is devoid of a mega star. And look, they got to keep the assist up. That was keeping them in games for most of the first start of the season. But even that's gone down. I mean, you're looking at they're near the bottom of the top 10. They're still a top 10 in assists, but that's gone away. I got to ask you, we actually hold this thought. We're going to continue this chat in the next segment. We're going to look at some numbers, what happened against OKC. But I got to ask Rudy this. Are we still going to give this team a pass because they've been just hit with the injury bug? Once again, we are here with Rudy Campos. He is with Sweep the League. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League. And yeah, lots to talk about, including a very important merch fan gear question I have for Rudy in just a few minutes. But I want to talk to you about Bet Online. It's your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer to esports. They got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, get those as well over at Bet Online. Always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Do it right now. Head to the website today. Use your cell phone, use your mobile device, use your laptop, use your computer. Go to Rudy's house. Ask him to borrow his computer and see if he can go to betonline.net. Why do you want to go to BetOnline? Because that's where the game starts.
I think it had more to do, well, sure they did. They did a great job. They were more physical, but they attacked the rim really well. And that's how they play, and you know that. And we had 7 assists in the second half. We didn't attack the rim. We didn't get to the paint, part because of their physicality, but part that we just didn't sustain the momentum that we had, the tenacity, the purpose that we had in the first half. it just dissipated in the second half. And they were a good part of that. They did a good job. 48 minutes is a long time. I mean, we've had a lot of good halves or 2.5 quarters and all that, but rarely do we put 4 quarters of fundamental sound defense and offense together. Yeah, part of it's a young team, but they're a young team too, and they did it. So they deserve credit.
All right, so I got to ask you then a very important question. Do we give this team a pass right now because they've been hit with the injury bug? Even during this OKC loss, they lost McDermott to an ankle injury. So they came in with that. So for most of the game, they had McDermott, but he left. So there was no Sohan, no Pirtle, no Richardson. They just been hit with injury bug. Do we give them a pass during this losing streak because of that factor?
I mean, any team that's been snake bitten by the injury bug's got to get a pass for sure. I mean, if you're looking at Sohan, if you're looking at Pirtle, out of the two, I mean, Jakob would have made the biggest difference tonight. I mean, he's probably going to get you. I would say they probably would have got the victory if Jakob played tonight. But considering the fact that he was out, definitely hurts the Spurs. So, I mean, the injury bug portion of it, I would say you definitely give him a pass on that. But again, I mean, this is the same type of team, man. Even with Jakob, could they have won? We really don't know. I'm saying they could have. But even a guy like Jeremy Sohan, I mean, he's not as consistent as you would hope he is. So would he have made a difference? Probably not. It's just a game where I think you give a pass on the injury bug, but you really don't overall on the overall play of the team. I mean, Keldon was bricking just about everything tonight. Devin, he really was. Had some missed shots. It's just an overall bad night, but we're going to be saying it's a bad night for a lot of these games.
Let's look at some numbers now. The Spurs, on one hand, make some season history, the most points scored in a half. It was 77 points. Yeah. And not even that was enough to maintain the lead and the win. So the Spurs came out like gangbusters, 35 points in the first period, 42 points in the second period. So you're feeling great. Spurs got a big lead, double-figure lead. Yay. And then the collapse came offensively and defensively. You see it in the numbers. In the third quarter, but get this, Rudy. They go from a 42-point second quarter to a 19-point third period and allow the Thunder to score 28. All right, fine. They're still in it. They still, with the striking distance, they should be able to maintain that and coast to a win. Nope. Spurs only score 15 points in the fourth, worse in the third, and OKC gets 31 on them. Devin Vassell led the way with 25 points. And again, that 3-shot. Look, they made 10 threes, yay, but 10 for 37. They started just chucking them. What gets me though is that this team is still a work in progress. I'm afraid this losing streak may get into the minds of the young kids. What do you think?
Oh yes, they've never experienced a Spurs season like this. I mean, old guys like you and myself and even Joe have experienced seasons like this where we saw multiple double-digit losing streaks. I mean, it happens, and you're right. This Spurs team is super young. It's going to be a lot of heartaches. But what the young fans need to understand is, if whether you want to tank for whatever or whoever, or you just want success, it's not going to happen this season. I mean, there's no guarantee you get a player that you want in the draft. But at the same time, there's no guarantee that this team goes on a massive run like we've seen in the movie, Major League or whatever. I mean, it's not going to be anything like that. They're not going to have Pop on a cardboard and start peeling pieces off of his clothes or something. Nothing like that is going to happen. It's just a season that is going to be a season of struggles. You have average to above average NBA players. You don't have superstars on this team. When you have a team like that, it is what it is.
Transition defense, again, bites the Spurs in the butt. The Thunder, 20 points off turnovers. Well, the Spurs had 8. So their mistakes were just compounded by allowing them to score, the Thunder, that is, off the Spurs' mistakes. That is a big, big stat that jumps out to me is, again, transition defense. Even in a turnover situation, the Spurs are not there. The Spurs at one point were shooting well over 60% for the game. That plummeted to 44% for the game, while OKC upped it to 51% for the game as well. And you look at just, I mean, everybody, I should make a quick correction there. The Spurs had 20 points off turnovers, while the Thunder had 8. So maybe I should be saying the Spurs improved in that department. But in the paint, the Spurs gave up 70. So 70 points in the paint. That doesn't help. And here's the thing, too, that really gets me, Rudy. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't even play. There was at least 30 points right there. I can only imagine if he had played last night, Rudy. Your thoughts?
Yeah, if SGA plays, I mean, I don't think the Spurs even come close to what they did tonight. He's averaging 30 points a game this year. I mean, he's just going bonkers for this OKC team. It's a surprise they don't have, more wins than what they actually do. I think they only have 9 wins after this game. But, I mean, yeah, if he plays, I would have expected the Spurs to lose by at least maybe 13, 14 points, another double-digit blowout for this game. But, one thing to keep in mind, you're going over stats. When you combine the third and fourth quarter on points scored for the Spurs, and it's less than the first quarter and the second quarter, I mean, that tells you a lot right there, how this second half was just an absolute
it was a disaster.
Disaster, man.
It was a disaster. I'm going to challenge you right now, Rudy, to find one good thing about this game. What is one good thing about this game, even in a loss?
I always joke around when I say that the final buzzer sounded and the game was over. This is probably the perfect time. But you know what? The one good thing that I could say about it is their quarters, the first and fourth quarter, were their most trouble quarters. They had a lot of problems coming out of the gates. They were getting beat pretty early, had to scratch and claw in the second and third quarter, come back into the game, and just blow it in the fourth. Tonight, you saw them actually come out. They played a stupendous first half, but that first quarter was good, 35-32 over Oklahoma City. They came out. They competed right away. They stayed in the game up until the second half started. So if I had to point to a positive, it's the first quarter. One of their trouble quarters, they came out and they played very well that first 12 minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I just look at this thing. I just cannot stop looking at that second half stats right now. I just looking it up and down, just like, wow, that really did happen. But I'm going to go with the play of Devin Vassell. He was trying to the bitter end to keep this game close. But, I mean, he had double figure scoring, 20 plus points. There's that. But, whew, it's rough. This one was rough. This one was pretty bad because it looked like the Spurs losing streak was about to come to an end, and it didn't. I mean, for the second half, for the entire second half, the Spurs shot 28%. 28%. Well, the Thunder shot 55%. That's just bad. They couldn't find the bottom of the bucket. In that second half, the Spurs just made 2 3-pointers. That's it. They went 2 for 19. They couldn't find the bottom of the bucket there. And collectively, in total, they gave up 59 points to the Spurs 34. But yeah, just so bad. I really thought with no Shai Gilgeous, the Spurs had this. They had a really good shot to win. But in our game preview, me and Jimenez, we predicted the Spurs would lose against the Thunder, and it came out correct. But yeah, once again, Spurs lose to the Thunder in grand fashion, 119-111, 6-16, 9-game losing streak, and they'll next face the Pelicans in San Antonio. When we get back, we're going to ask Rudy if he would test the limits of his Spurs fandom and wear something that, in my opinion, is just absolutely ridiculous. But I got a feeling Rudy's going to actually say yes. I don't know why. But we're going to do that and more on this episode of Locked On Spurs. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen. Again, check out Locked On Sports. The biggest game recaps, the biggest instant reactions, the biggest stories of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. We're back with Rudy Campos right here on Locked On Spurs. He is with Sweep the League. And make sure to follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League. So, Rudy, in the last segment, we talked about what's one good thing that came out of the game. Maybe this is it. Maybe we avoided it. We were just saving it for this segment here. Big hats. Like, not just 10-gallon hats for those people from Texas that don't know about Cowboys hats. I'm talking about just overly sized, ridiculously oversized. I should emphasize that. caps. And apparently this is a thing. I was told on social media that a lot of the NFL players wear these, some guy from the Commanders, but apparently it's now leaking into the NBA. So it's hard to get a visual about this, but just imagine right now you at home are sitting in your chair or standing up and wearing a baseball cap. Okay. Fits great, snug, looks good on you. Now take that same cap and multiply the width and the height of it by 1,000 and sit that on your head. This is ridiculous. I think there must be some arch support, some neck support inside there to hold these things up. But Rudy, did you see that photo or that still that I put out on social media of a Spurs fan wearing a ridiculously oversized Spurs cap?
I did, and I actually saw Brian Robinson of the Commanders wearing it in the locker room, and that's the first time I have ever seen a hat like that. So I did see the Spurs fan, and I actually don't know him personally, but I know who it is. I know the guy actually. So
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I know who he is. I don't know him personally, but I honestly.
Okay,
man,
would you wear it?
fine.
Would you wear something like that? Would you wear a hat like that to a game?
If it's a baseball, yes, I will. I can't lie. It's something about hats. I like wearing baseball.
But Rudy, these are
hats.
not just cool looking fitted hats. This is
My
like
thing is, I wear my hat
bobblehead
backwards.
levels.
So they are bobblehead.
Can you wear that hat
Right.
backwards?
I thought Brian Robinson did of the Commanders, if I'm not mistaken. So
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
can
you're
wear
right.
it
Yes, you're
backwards.
right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So
Yeah, he
honestly,
did.
Jeff, I think I would give it a shot, but I probably
Come
wouldn't.
on.
I wouldn't last with it. I'll be honest. I wouldn't last because how the hell are you supposed to drive with it? I mean, I don't
Or
have.
this, you're gonna get barked at a game if you're sitting in front of somebody
There
and
you
they
go.
can't see the court. I mean, you would have to strategically get a seat on a section where there's nobody behind you to wear that.
Uh-huh.
Maybe like a suite, because you roll like that, Rudy. You get yourself a suite daily.
But it goes back to where
but-
do you wear it?
Well, he wore the game apparently, but this guy, that was in OKC, wore this oversized cap. Are kids really wearing these, or is this just a one-off thing? Is this a thing?
I hope it's a one-off thing. I hope it's more of a gimmick thing than anything because we have bad enough trends with the youth right now that I do not want to add this to the trend because I'm just going to say I'll never leave my house again. It's getting bad. And this is one of the trends that I hope does not continue. Hey, great idea. It's a nice gimmick thing, but just leave it in the storage. I don't want to see it being on the streets anywhere.
But you would wear it though. That's what's
I
baffling. to
think
me,
I would.
because-
I think I would wear it, yeah.
Did you ever wear baggy pants like MC Hammer pants back in the day?
No, I did not actually. I know my brother and other people I knew wore the Jinko pants, the skater pants that
Yeah.
just devoured your bottom torso. I never owned a pair of those. The closest I came were to the Jabos,
Yeah,
carpenter looking pants.
yeah.
So yeah.
Maybe back in with back in the day in the 80s when the MC Hammer parachute pants. Maybe it goes with that, but yeah, no, I that's a hard pass for me. There's no way I'm wearing that. Absolutely no way. That's just stupid. You know what it looked like? That old 90s video game. It was called Backyard Baseball, and it had these little
Oh
kids
yeah.
wearing these like oversized hats, and I think they
Yeah.
were like little cartoon figures. That's what it reminded me of. But yeah, if you want to see that hat, and go check it out right now, go to social media, specifically Twitter, and follow me on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. But yeah, we're done talking. We want to hear from you. What did you think about the debacle in OKC? Are you Team Tank? Are you cheering right now? You loving this? Or was this gut wrenching for you to witness see this young team just blow a 20-point lead? And would you wear a ridiculously oversized Spurs hat to share your fandom with the world? You can let me know again on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. And Rudy is going to tell you all about Sweep the League.
Yeah, Sweep the League. We record our episodes every Monday night. We actually recorded one last night, so it's going to be released last night. Actually, it came out. But We're just talking. We got a big boxing event coming up this Saturday, December 3rd. So if you're in town, be sure to check that out. But real quick, I just wanted to give you a little bit of advice here. The whole team tank thing, the whole team whatever. I've been on team whatever happens because just a little background. David Robinson, yes, came in number 1 pick. Spurs, when he was drafted, still went 31 wins, 21 wins, and he came in. The whole thing changed. But he had help. Sean Elliott was there. He had more people around him. You had Tim Duncan came in with David Robinson at the same time. Just getting a Wembayama or a Scoot Henderson doesn't mean you're going to get the same success that those Spurs teams had. You still have to surround them with talent. So for those on Team Tank, for those on Team Win, whatever team you're on, just know that the grass is not always greener on the other side.
I feel like we should put a graphic of the more you know star rainbow
exactly.
thing. Like just come across the screen right now. The More You Know by Rudy Campos. He told you how to check out Sweep the League. I'll tell you how to check out Locked On Spurs. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, the Kens 5 Plus app, including the YouTube page. Well, there's a lot of discussion going on. It's shocking, Rudy, because Jimenez was on yesterday or a couple of days ago, and he routed the Spurs fans on Locked On Spurs. So he's getting some comments right now on YouTube about his take about Lonnie Walker. You know, the infamous Lonnie Walker tank. But go there. Go check out what everybody's doing to Jimenez right now. Actually, some people do agree with him. So, again, check out the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. But for Rudy Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.